us who, if not today, when. And today we have a series of exhibitions. Please do come in. A range of exhibitions, talks, films at the Pipe Factory, which you can see what's on in the climate fringe, and you'll catch us on Insta on If Not Us Who COP26. So do encourage people along to see what else is on all floors. And today we have a series of talks which will begin with Rosamund Kissi-Debrah, and then we have Robin Woolston, which is then followed by Bush Tea Unsweetened Conversations at 5 o'clock. So as we settle down and grab our seats, and hello to everyone at home or wherever else in the world you're watching or tuning into this conversation. I'm going to introduce Maya Mailer, who's the co-founder of Mothers Rise Up, and the chief exec. Is that correct, Maya? It's the campaigns director of Our Children's Climate. Have I got that right? Almost. Our Kids' Climate. So I was being polite. I'm going to hand over to Maya, and Maya can do the rest of the introductions. I hope you enjoy the talk. Maya.
Thank you, Simon, and welcome everyone online. So as Simon said, I'm a campaigns director with Our Kids' Climate and a friend and collaborator of Rosamund, amazing, tireless campaigner, and it's such a privilege to be able to facilitate this and ask Rosamund some questions. So we're going to hear from Rosamund last. I'm going to go in reverse order, and then we're going to hear from Bavreen, who's from Warrior Mums in India and who works in Delhi, one of the most polluted cities in the world. But first up, we're going to hear from these amazing women. I'm just meeting them for the first time myself, but your reputation precedes you. So you're from Choked Up, right? So they're amazing campaigners in London talking about air pollution and the intersection between air pollution and social justice and racial justice. But you're going to have to introduce yourselves one by one because I only know you from Twitter. So who wants to go first? Yeah? Go ahead.
Hi everyone, my name is Nialetti and I'm a co-founder of the campaign Choked Up, which seeks to enshrine the right to breathe clean air in UK law and take account of the disproportionate effects of air pollution in London on the black and brown communities that live there. I'll pass on to, have you got, okay.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Destiny, I'm 18 and also a co-founder of Choked Up. I guess I can just talk about what Choked Up means to me in general. I think within the environmental movement, it's very seemed as like white and middle class, and so a lot of our issues are always brushed away or just ignored. And the concept of environmental racism isn't theoretical; it's our reality, and we shouldn't have to bear the burden of those who go out of their way to, I guess, harm us, whether it be through government inaction, whether it be through our communities just being deprived in general, and how, I guess, like, air pollution is an issue that can be solved really, really quickly, but it's the ignorance that kills us, and that really, really hurts. So standing against it and being able to advocate for voices like mine and my siblings and friends and peers just means a great deal to me, and to be able to do it with two amazing friends means to me even more. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Anjali. I've just turned 18, like less than a week ago. Thank you. So I'm also a co-founder of Choked Up, and this campaign means so much to me. So we started just over a year ago now. The three of us all live in really highly polluted areas in South London. It's an issue that we experience every day. The air we're breathing is toxic, it's polluted. I live by one of the busiest roads in London, and I only just found out about air pollution, like through Rosamund here. and like through her campaigning, and it's something that I should have known and that my parents should have known like way before that, like before I was even born. But it was these kind of facts about the air that we were breathing like really were concealed from us, and we weren't told about what was going on. And that's one of the reasons why we started this campaign, because we want people to know what they're breathing and who's actually breathing it. And we also want the government to do something about it. So that's why we're here. That's what our whole campaign is about.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you for that introduction. So I guess the first question would be, like, have you just arrived at the COP? How's it been going? What have your impressions been? We'd love to hear that.
Yeah, I guess I can start. We arrived on Thursday and Friday, so we've sort of been exposed a little bit. I think going in head first into the Friday climate strike was really, really empowering. But it was a lot more different to the climate strikes I went to, you know, when it was like really active in 2019, because I think for the first time you were actually present with voices that you wouldn't normally hear. So I'm hearing of indigenous people, especially in South America and the Philippines, and in areas that I'm not quite familiar with, actually hearing them speak their truth about how the global north has just perpetuated so much pain and harm in their communities, and how they've remained so resilient and fighting against it was just absolutely phenomenal. And also leading on to Saturday as well. Just being able to share a space with so many empowering people just felt like a privilege more than anything. And it's just something that I'm absolutely grateful for, because not all of us could have made it to COP. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was really amazing being up there in the strikes the past couple of days. I was able to meet up with a lot of people who I haven't seen in like a couple of years, from like Fridays for Future International, Fridays for Future Europe, which was really quite cool. And Destiny here was leading a few of the chants yesterday. Didn't mention that, but they're really good at doing chants. It was like you keeping the energy up. It was great. Yeah, so it's been really good. I was on a panel at the New York Times Climate Hub a couple days ago, and we were just up there. So it's been busy, and it's been a busy and pretty hectic past couple days, but we're really quite excited to throw ourselves into it. And we're leaving on Tuesday as well.
Yeah, it's also just been like super interesting because as the two mentioned, we've been like super involved in like the direct like action and like going to the marches, but it's also difficult being aware that that same energy and like all the same energy that we're bringing is not being reflected in the rooms where decisions are being made. And
Yeah, I think we all feel that, and we've also just loved being able to meet in person. We've been organising for years, and we all got together at the strikes and at the march, and there's nothing like in-person contact. And I believe that energy is going to make it into the room. And Destiny, before we end today, we're going to have some chants from you. Okay, so let's remember to do that. So then I had a question. You guys have done some amazing campaigning in London with road signs and other really creative actions. I thought you might want to speak a bit to that, and also tell us, like, what's the reaction been from your school friends, from parents, from relatives? Are they on board? What have your teachers said? So yeah, tell us a little bit about the work you've been doing in London.
So a couple of months ago in March, we did a campaign where we hacked road signs and subverted the messages, and they read pollution zone, breathing kills, like as opposed to pedestrian zone, and all the information that would be like that. But the aim of the road signs was to make sure that people who pass, and we placed them in busy roads, so is to make sure that people who pass these areas daily were aware of the air they're breathing, because it's something that we often take for granted, that we're breathing, we're alive. It's something that we do constantly, and it's so easy to forget that the air that we're breathing is really harming us, especially in London and especially in our areas where the air pollution is exceeding WHO guidelines. It's not safe, and that's something that's so constant for us. So with the road signs, it was also part of a wider campaign leading up to the 2021 mayoral London election, and it was part of a coalition for the Mayor for Clean Air, campaign. And I think the reaction was quite good, actually. It really got clean air on the agenda, and I think also emphasising the disproportionality of the effects and who's really exposed. And leading on from that, we put up some signs in Whitechapel, and there's quite a large Bengali-speaking community, so we also thought it was important to put those signs up in Bengali to, really make it accessible to everyone, because it is everyone that's breathing this air.
To sort of add on, as well as Whitechapel, the signs were also put up in Brixton and Lewisham, 2 areas in South London, with not only a high BAME population, but also probably one of the worst affected areas in terms of air pollution in London. The reaction has been great. I think it was a really good turning point in terms of momentum. I think as a whole, we gained quite a lot of respectability within the clean air movement. We gained quite a lot of traction from, I guess, regional news in particular. They've been in touch with us, so like BBC and them lot. But also just peer admiration. So our teachers and our friends and just our peers have just been so good to us. They, constantly praise what we do, and our families, especially. And I think being able to engage with a wider audience as well, those who live beyond South London, has been really, really great as well. So I think it's the start of, I guess, a brand new conversation that should have started yesterday, but is much better late than never.
Just adding on quickly, just kind of building on these points. Yeah, we really got mayoral candidates tweeting about our action. So they were talking about it. We organised the clean air hustings. We asked some questions in televised debates about clean air and inequality. And we wouldn't have been able to do that without having our action. So we saw some quite immediate positive responses from it, from not just the media, but also from politicians themselves, which was really nice to see. And it made us realise that our voice really does have an impact. And that was something that we hadn't really thought about properly before, because we hadn't seen it. We, as young people, we feel like our voices don't really matter that much. And seeing the response that we got in less than a year of starting our campaign, it was quite impressive. It was quite remarkable, and it really made us all think, because none of us were expecting to get that big of a response and be covered in national news by The Guardian. No one was expecting that. But yeah, it was really quite cool.
Amazing, it was brilliant. We're going to have to move on soon, but I just wanted to know if there were any questions or 1 or 2 questions from the audience before moving on to Bavreen. Simon? Yeah?
Are you all studying at university or school?
So me and Nialetti are in our last year of secondary education. So we're in we're doing our A-levels at the end of this year, and we've just done our UCAS applications. And then Destiny's in their first year at Oxford.
Well, big respect for combining all of that with study and university. It's just been a pleasure to have you here, and I'm sure you're going to get lots of questions from people in the audience and online. So let's give a shout out to Choked Up. Where's Bavreen? She had a media call. All right, Rosamund, please come. I think she will come back after him.
I might do this in 2
Yeah.
I'll do this in 2 segments. When she comes back, I will sort of give up the seat for her, and she can come and speak to you, because I want everyone to hear about the amazing work she's been doing as part of Warrior Mums.
Okay, let's do it that way. So, Rosamund, lots of people here who really want to hear from you. So, the first question is, I think this must be your first COP, right? You've been in the green zone, the blue zone, you've been wandering around Glasgow. What are your impressions of this meeting, and what's the one thing you want all of those world leaders to hear?
Oh, I think the first thing I have to say, thank you to the people of Glasgow for allowing us to invade your lovely city. They've been extremely friendly. I wondered how my kids and I would go down, but they've been absolutely, the people have been very warm, very friendly, great. And I know that air pollution is an issue here, so I hope us being here has managed to highlight that. What's my immediate impression? Well, my immediate impression was when it started, up until Her Majesty actually mentioned air pollution, sitting at home, I was a bit puzzled why no one was actually talking about clean air. So for the first 2 days, there was all sorts of things going on. And then when I got here, to my amazement, I heard that health, this is the first time health has actually been on the agenda. So my boss, Dr. Niera, was saying, well, you haven't really missed much because as far as we're concerned, this is the first COP for us. And that would explain why I hadn't heard anything. And I was beginning to be a bit concerned. And then I worried how I'd go down because everyone was talking about climate change. But they didn't actually mention health. And those that follow me and know that for me, you can't, this is a public health crisis. And I couldn't actually understand. But when I got here, obviously the politics of it all, I began to understand. And I do hope going forward, and Mayor Khan and I have said this, that every single time people mention climate change, they need to mention the health crisis, because otherwise it's not really getting to the people. Look, people at home are thinking, what is going on here? And the narrative was that world leaders were flying in, they were driving in their cars, and when you come up here, there were so many people on the streets, at the marches, and I really hope some of that has feeded back. But people were beginning to wonder that this is sort of in isolation, and i.e. this has got nothing to really do with us. And I actually picked up the phone this morning and rang Andrew Castle on LBC. So thank you, Andrew, for answering my call, because he felt a bit as if it's something that's going on up there in Glasgow and it's got nothing to do with real people. Look, let me say again and again that until you clean up the air, you are not going to resolve climate change. It is linked to so many things. And a doctor was telling me about the number of cardiac arrests due to air pollution is even more than asthma attacks. And yes, my daughter did have a cardiac arrest, but obviously because she had such severe asthma, we sort of focus on that. And it was so amazing to be in a room of doctors yesterday. And I knew something was going wrong when, during a pandemic, you had doctors who were willing to leave their hospitals, which is an actual mean feat because they care so much, but to cycle over 500 miles up here to raise awareness of health. And obviously that was not the headline. So you can imagine what people were thinking. And look, we live in a country that before COVID even, the actual waiting list was growing. Let's be honest. I think I heard the health secretary say it's 5.7 million. And using COVID alone will be an excuse. That list was growing before COVID. And a lot of those diseases, cancer, dementia, strokes, cardiac arrest, asthma, COPD, mental health, suicides, depression, all that is linked to air pollution. So that was all already growing. And for the many critics who say the air is cleaner than before, my answer to them will be to read the coroner's report. And the second recommendation was to do with monitoring and how things are monitored. What got into Ella's lungs and bloodstreams, really, really tiny nanoparticles, which are not being measured. So if they're not being measured, then how can you say the air is cleaner than before? And I admit, it's not like the smog of the 50s, whereby you could probably dust it off your shoes. But the reason why she's not here, and she should be sitting here with the likes of Choked Up, that is her year group, is because of what happened to her. And look, she's not the only one, because we now know that 1 in 5 premature deaths worldwide are due to air pollution. It's just that my amazing lawyer managed to get, Hair One recognized on a death certificate. And that's why if people pick up the dedication to her yesterday, it was just going to be to her. And I thought, do you know what? It's not just her that's died. Nobody's proved it before. But please don't think no one else has died because of air pollution. I call it either a silent killer, an invisible killer. That's what I actually call it. But go to the global south, go to many other countries, in Brazil, so many other countries, you will see the real, look at all the floods, even in North London recently. What do people, that is what this should be really about. So we have failed again, getting the message across to ordinary people. All they're seeing is they're being asked to pay more through this crisis, and people will know. I'm going to go on about, we've got an increase in energy prices, people on benefits have had their benefits cut, and people are really worried. So they're thinking, hang on a minute, we can barely afford to exist right now. How are we going to pay for it all? And I've been asking the government, as everyone knows, people who even want to transition into electric vehicles, they need to support and help with a diesel scrappage scheme, because people were encouraged to buy diesels. So, the people who are at home and who are watching, this is about you, and this is about your health. And I don't know what the narrative has been over the last couple of days, because I know there are lots of news going on, but this is absolutely about people in the UK. It is about our health, Maya, and there is a public health crisis on. This is what this should really be about.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I was so shocked when I found out that it was the first year that WHO had a pavilion in the blue zone. But it feels like that connection between between human health, our children's health, air pollution, and the climate crisis is now really being made and cemented. And we brought mums together from all around the world to take that message to Alok Sharma, the president of the COP. We had mums from India, from Brazil, from Poland, South Africa, Nigeria. So can you speak a little bit to what that meeting was like with Alok Sharma, the president of the COP, and also what it means to you to have this movement of mothers behind you and standing with you and talking about air pollution and the climate crisis in their countries, and showing you that solidarity?
Yeah, firstly, obviously, to say thank you, especially to the likes of yourself and people behind the scenes who organise that, and to thank Mr. Sharma as well for giving us the audience, because I know he's incredibly busy. And he actually gave us extra time, and that was one of the reasons we were running late to the New York Times. He did give us extra time. That meeting we had a moment, it wasn't stage managed or anything, and we all got to tell our stories individually. He obviously knows about me, because I'm from the UK, so he knows about my story already. And I actually got to pay him a soundscape of different children who were fighting to breathe. So they might have been on nebulizers or a lack of oxygen, they were coughing, choking, and it was really uncomfortable. I mean, what I said to him is, I just heard a little snippet, because I just wanted to make sure before I actually went in that it was legitimate and everything. So I said to him, we are both hearing this for the first time, and I did actually warn him, it is not my daughter, before he thought that was a setup, although it could have easily have been her. It actually, and it was quite distressing, because I think one of them, there was an actual baby crying. But these, in the UK, 1.1 million children have asthma. So at some point, that will be one of those children, whether it's seasonal or whether it's uncontrollable asthma. So that could have been any child. But also, I said to him, as the president of COP, this is really what his focus should be on, that those children fighting to breathe can be anywhere across the globe. And I especially mention India, because I do get some quite heartfelt messages from there, because I must sound England-centric when I talk. And what they say to me is, please don't forget us. And I know about India's air pollution, because I'm in touch with Dr. Kumar, who, as a surgeon, does operations on late teens. so like choked up's age, from lung cancer, and they don't smoke. And it's all to do with the air they breathe. And I must say, a massive congratulations to Choked Up on that matter. We are from the same neighborhood per se, and they've really shone a light on what it's like for minorities who live near busy roads. They've shone a light on inequality in health, and COVID showed us that the gap was getting ever wider. So, and to combine that with their studies, it must be incredibly challenging. Being head of sixth form, I don't know if they were in my year group, how I would have taken them going off campaigning, but that's a whole nother story. But no, I've told them to focus.
You would have supported them. Come on, you would have done.
I'm a bit obsessed with education, as people know as well. No, but on a serious note, as you saw, I'm so glad that they managed to get here and to speak their truth. It's really important. People should allow people to say their truth. All this shutting people down and not hearing young people. I'm not used to that. I taught for 17 years in secondary, and like I said, I continue to do like guest appearances, teaching university students. So yes, young people are frustrated. Young people challenge you, and it's part of being a teacher, and it's up to you to provide answers. You don't have someone in your class put up their hand and ask you a question, and then you just sort of shut them down. So they need to be heard. And otherwise, guess what? They won't. One thing I can say is they're going to get angrier. They're not going to go away. And I think the decision makers or whoever it is, they'll be better off meeting them, listening to them, taking the grief because they didn't put us in this mess we're in, and then listening to them, and we can move on from that rather than trying to keep them out of the room. It's ridiculous.
Well said, Rosamund, well said. I can see Choked Up nodding away there. I wanted to know if anyone in the audience wanted to ask a question to Rosamund. I've got lots of my own, but I want to give other people a chance. So does anyone have a question or a comment? Don't be shy.
No?
All right. Maybe.
No, not at all. No. Oh, my Jocelyn has made it. Jocelyn is my lawyer, and I haven't seen her due to the pandemic. I just wondered whether she has any questions or any observations at all she wants to make. It's the first time I've seen her. I didn't even see her during the inquest, actually. So I think it's the first time I've seen her in a couple of years. Jocelyn, do you have any question or any comments, anything you want to say? Yeah, please do. She's a lawyer. Let me go and hand her the mic so people can hear her, please. Oh, you want to give it to her? And you are online, Jocelyn, just to let you know. Oh. Would you like to sit here? Come and sit next to me here. I haven't seen her for so long. And I am negative this morning before people start tweeting in about not wearing masks.
I just want to say, I sorry I was a bit late. We got waylaid, and so I didn't hear everything that was said by you guys, but I think that what you're fighting for is so important. From the perspective of a lawyer who represents individuals, I have a feeling the next chapter will be about ordinary people pushing the authorities to take action, and I don't know how COP26 has gone in terms of how people are feeling about the action being taken, but to get the governments over the next stage, I think ordinary people will have to find ways of holding them to account. And hopefully Rosamund's action that she's taken and her children to make sure positive change comes out of Ella's death will be an example of what people can do and how powerful individuals are if they do stand up. So it's been inspirational working with Rosamund, I might say, and good luck, everybody.
Thank you, Jocelyn.
Thank you, Jocelyn. That legal battle that you won has inspired so many of us, and it went round the world, and it has set a case, and I think galvanized many people to take action and to know that you can ultimately prevail. So Rosamund, I have a question. You've been campaigning now for years and years. You've met so many people along the way, from Arnold Schwarzenegger through to grassroots campaigners. Like, what sustains you? What keeps you going? What gets you up in the morning?
My children, and that includes Ella, although physically not here, spiritually, that doesn't change. And obviously, you know, although I'd lost a child, not one that I'd given birth to and lost before, I even although she's not here, that love never changes. And you and I have talked about how much we love our children, but also the people who I meet. I mean, I need to take this opportunity to very publicly thank Dr. Niera, who we met a couple of years ago, and the moment we met, we bonded, and she has been pushing to get me part of her team, and that happened yesterday, which was an awesome moment. And that's, as an educator, one of the things is you need people who believe in you, and that definitely keeps you going. So when I went to see my lawyer years ago, she actually believed in my case. So that's what does keep you going. You know, you and I, we have a friendship, we have a bond, and we both support each other. You can't do it in isolation. And, you know, another opportunity for me to thank the British public who put their hands in their pockets and supported us to get that inquest quashed in the first place. Because normally people like us, we don't have the funds to do, you know, they've got rid of legal aid, so people like us, we don't have the funds to take such a, and to my legal team, who I would never be able to pay Jocelyn for the hours that she puts into this. It's what people don't see behind the scenes, the strategic, you know, the hours and hours. And I hope for her, it's you know, she can see the change, you know, to have WHO dedicate that, what they brought to COP to Ella really shows me. I mean, I knew about it, but when you actually see it in writing and you see it, it's just amazing. And for Ella, who she worried when she wasn't here that, I think her worry was that her siblings would forget her. She was worried, because I said, I won't forget you. She goes, well, you won't. You're my mom. But what she would think now, but it's for all her suffering. And I spoke to the doctors in the room yesterday. They know what mucus plugging is. They know when you rush a child in and you say to them, she needs magnesium, she needs adrenaline. They know what state. And sadly, due to COVID, people know now about ICU, intubating. Unfortunately, people have had experience of that. 140,000 people have died, 10,000 being in London. And the reason why I bring up COVID, people wonder, because air pollution is a global pandemic, it's airborne, and so is COVID. And they all, the virus travels on the particulars. That's the easiest way to say it. And again, I say to the leaders, unless you clean up the air as well, no matter how much masks we wear, how many vaccines, it's not going to die down. We can do our bit as per usual, but cleaning up the air will solve an awful lot, including COVID itself.
Thank you, Rosamund. And you said that you had people believing in you and how important that was. And because of what you've done, so many more people are now going to believe in themselves and their ability to make change, because you've inspired so many. I had a question about what you just said, that obviously we need to clean up the air. Can you talk a bit to like what you think is working? So Choked Up have done brilliant work, and you with the Mayor of London, and we've got some clean air zones. What works in London and beyond, and what more needs to be done really concretely to tackle air pollution?
Yeah, I think what Stephen Holgate, and Professor says Stephen Holgate, he was the expert witness in my late daughter's case. We both believe that a public health campaign needs to be had. We're both educators. And the reason why I say that is we sit in the room, and maybe us here, we have the privilege of coming up to COP. We kind of get it. But look, a lot of people, life is very busy, life is hectic. They have to worry about food on the table. The poorest people are not really part of the conversation, really. And some of the areas where it is put, look, not everyone's on Twitter. Not everyone buys newspapers. So the coroner, again, I go back to the coroner, he made it very, very clear that awareness needs to happen. Councils everywhere, boroughs need to monitor. They need to tell people what they are breathing in. Look, people want to change. When we had the London elections, the mayor elections, air quality was number 3 on people's list of their concerns. So it is beginning to filter through, but we can't leave anyone behind. We need to explain to people, and this is part of so to give the government for a second credit, I can see people rolling their eyes, their concern is that people are not ready for it. My challenge to them is, people are ready, but they need to be helped. And also, you need to tell them why you're doing things. People don't like things done to them. And we found that out in London, didn't we? When suddenly they shut roads and there was no explanation. And the other thing I learned from that also is the divide between the haves and the have-nots. Clean air is everybody's right. It shouldn't be because you're, turn into like a culture, class war. It shouldn't be because you live in a more affluent area. You breathe clean air. By the way, this isn't just assigned to London. This is something the world over. The poorest people all over the globe, they suffer the worst impact of the climate crisis. So before anyone gets on Twitter to start writing, it's just the way it turned out. I am normally behind most initiatives, but after I've been through, and my children have a genetic link, obviously, to their sister. So if you, and this is my opportunity to say, if you create something that makes that damn South Circular worse than it was before, I'm never going to be in support of it. That's like saying to me that I support something that's going to kill my own children, which people will think, have you gone mad? And I live in a borough that today, 70% of cases in pediatric A&E is respiratory today. So I am never going to accept, especially for that road, the South Circular, by the way, is 25 miles. So it's not just my family, that I just wanted to say that. And if you push this analysis that cars deserve to be on the main roads, well, let me tell you who lives on the main roads. It is mainly the poorer people. They were already suffering. What I have asked doctors to do is, could they kindly monitor if someone is coming in repeatedly, like my late daughter, can they monitor where they actually live? Because what, unfortunately, we did with her is we thought she wasn't taking her medicine properly, the kind of usual thing, and not knowing it was the quality of the air. So I'm not against any initiative. But also, I can't accept someone who says the air pollution is going to be worse for 6 months before it gets better. As we've learned in Lewisham, that hasn't been the case. Why do I say that? Every 3 seconds, someone has an asthma attack in the UK. So that's what people don't understand is what exposure to air pollution means. They don't seem to understand. Sometimes that one attack could be your final attack. And unfortunately, I can't solve any initiative that supports things like that. And the mayor of London knows that and understands that. And of course, last year, I was incredibly worried about my children again. And what I have told him is, if he wants me to campaign and he wants me to help him to resolve the thing, then my own children, look, I love everyone's children, but you know how much I love my children. I can't be in hospital with them if, no, I've lost one child and I'm not prepared to go through that again. So I'm sorry for all my critics who didn't understand. Sometimes I am a mother who's concerned. And the reason being for that is, if people were listening to the coroner, for whatever reason, we are more susceptible to air pollution than even the general population. And Stephen Holgate is working on that, whether it's a genetic thing or our genes or whatever, I don't know. But I am not prepared to, not even anyone else's child for that matter, let alone my own Maya. So that's why I became for a bit unpopular with people. But I do apologize. But, my ex-students will say to you, Miss Debrah will fight and fight for something. So I don't know why people were shocked about that.
You've been fighting the good fight. And as you say, it's a global issue. So over 90% of children worldwide breathe toxic air. And one of our collaborators who is here from Poland said, I just can't believe that I actually have to fight for something so basic as my children breathing clean air. It's kind of stunning when you think about it. And if there are people in the audience from other countries who want to speak to like what has worked or hasn't worked when it comes to tackling air pollution, we'd love to hear from you, whether it's now or later. And Rosamund, when you get questions from people from India or from Brazil, what is it that they're asking you, and what advice do you give to those mothers or campaigners in other countries?
I think what they're asking me for, the main thing is for me not to forget them, because, I am incredibly proud to be British Ghanaian born, British born Ghanaian is my heritage. But I suppose sometimes when they see me on TV, they hear me talk about England and the UK and London, and they mainly say, don't forget about us. We also need your help here. Look, we are not like India, let's be honest. And, I think that's what they feel when they see me, that and yesterday I had the great honor, of, like I say, this role at WHO, and
Can you explain the role for those that don't know? So we can.
Oh yeah. So WHO have a Breathe Life campaign. If you Google Breathe Life 2030, and I'm a Breathe Life champion, an ambassador for them. And Dr. Nira and I are going to take our time and work out, and we want to use the legislation to help us in our go. She says, looking over at her lawyer, who she hasn't mentioned it to. She does. She wants to use legislation to actually help us so that children will have a right to breathe clean air. And we know recently that United Nations, the healthy environment has gone through, and that includes clean air, clean water, but we actually want it to stand alone. It's a huge ask, I know, but ultimately that's what we want to do. So we hope, and we need to sit there and think about it. So we know that 500,000 children under the age of 5 die every year due to air pollution. So how can I use my role to support people in different countries? If the pandemic allows, there are different sources of air pollution in different countries, like coal, cooking, ammonia, wood burning, and I'm not talking about the people in Scotland who don't have central heating. That's not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people in urban areas like London who do not need a wood burner. And again, why I say that, it's not having a dig at people. It's even during the first lockdown, although nitrogen dioxide went down by 70%, PM remained. PM is a toxic pollutant. It remained constant, and that's because people were wood burning, and they actually don't need, look, it's carcinogenic. So we've got enough problems without people adding wood burning onto it. And that's not what affected my daughter, but I need to mention that. And, before the pandemic, in July last year, Stephen Holgate, again, the same Stephen Holgate, he had launched massive research into indoor air. We didn't know about COVID then. And he is a bit of a genius. Now look at indoor air and ventilation. So going forward, these are things we need to, that figure, 7 million, that includes, I think, 3.8 million due to indoor air pollution. And some of the indoor air is something we can do about it. But again, can you see, we need governments backing to fund these public health campaigns.
Absolutely. And of course, one of the biggest drivers of air pollution is the burning of fossil fuels that also drives the climate crisis. If we keep fossil fuels in the ground, we're going to make the progress we need. So I see that Bavreen has walked in.
Yeah, I'm going to get up for a bit. I'm going to come at the end. I'm going to give the stage to Bavreen now. She's going to take my seat, and I will come back at the end, and you can ask me a few questions before I go on my merry way.
Wonderful. Thank you. So I realise I don't even have a watch. Simon, how are we doing for time? Okay. So Now got Bavreen, who runs Warrior Mums in India, and she's from Delhi, and she knows a thing or two about air pollution.
Thank you,
So
Maya.
Bavreen, over to you.
And I'm so sorry about this, so that's what I'm such a, right now in my city, where I'm from, Delhi, the AQI is absolutely severe. It's, Anjali is here. She must be knowing when they've gone. Yeah, hi. Yeah, so it's crazy, it's so bad that right now in Agra, the Taj Mahal, you can't see it, even like 200 meters, it's so bad. So, while I'm sitting here and, breathing this lovely air, and my daughters and my children are breathing such poison, and this is an every year story. So my girls are going to turn 18 in December, and so 18 years I know, and maybe 5-6 years before that, my battle has been on. And right now also, I don't know, sorry Jill if you heard me shouting on a national debate, is like the politicians are just blaming each other. The center blames the state, which is the federal government, the state government, and they blame them. And who suffers is us, the citizens, the children, their future, and not realizing this is actually poison. And unfortunately, I'm sure Rosamund also has had this challenge with air, is that because we can't see it, so we don't tend to believe it. So even the citizens kind of don't believe that the air is dirty. And they don't demand it the way you see water. If water is dirty, then everybody will protest and not drink it or leave it. But air is not like that. So it has taken years and years to even, kind of admit and have everyone understand that, yes, this is very bad and we must ask for clean air. So, but now that we are not in denial, of course, we're way past that, but still there is no action. And the only action is the weirdest of the things right now. What they're doing is, if I tell you, my God, how they think, is they're sprinkling water on construction sites, or these kind of ad hoc stuff. Then this year they had a smoke tower. They put a smoke tower in the city, and these things don't help. How can one smoke tower clean air? I mean, for the city, in the most polluted city. So it's so much money that goes in, public money is wasted, and so much time is wasted. That precious, those breaths that our children were taking were all full of, toxicity. And it's very disheartening. We have a very poor, so air is, unfortunately, everything ends up into, a mess, because if your air is dirty, because waste management is air. Now for us, the Diwali was a festival, and the crackers, it's so political. But in a polluted city, when you are in such a polluted city, when I was growing up, it wasn't so bad. Maybe it was 30 or 40 AQI. So we could do, I heard crackers in Glasgow also the other day. So I guess you have this
bonfire night. Yeah.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
So they have probably these specific hours, and then you do something. But in an AQI 20, it's fine to do it twice in a year or some community thing. But when you are living in a toxic hell, we got the first good air of the year. One good air, only one good day in October. That also because we got a lot of rains. Right now also, if we got little relief yesterday, was because there were the winds. So it's only the nature, Mother Nature or God who's helping us. But the politicians are not serious at all. And it's costing everyone a huge amount of misery. And right now the hospitals are full of people. Asthmatics are rushing to hospitals. They are even the senior citizens, the older people are suffering. They are finding it difficult. There is just a very small number of people, fortunate people like us, that we can afford purifiers and have them in the houses. And purifiers don't even do the job. It's just a mindset. But yeah, maybe like say 20% it helps. But we have a population which is living on the streets, in the slums. Those are the masses, who are actually on the road, or who are the laborers, the construction workers, a lot of women. And recently, we've had with some, other, like groups, studies being done with the construction workers, because they actually, if you see in India, when they're constructing, the women like warrior moms like us, mums, they're there, they're picking up and doing all that work, and then they have little babies with them. So the baby keeps playing there in the dust and, on the bricks, and so not realizing that whatever the AQI is, whatever that air pollution is, they are even worse threat because they are in that construction site. So we are trying that it becomes a law that every construction site must have an AQI monitor, so they can, and also a little awareness program, advocacy program for the construction workers, that they must know that this is harmful for them, because they don't know. Actually, the problem with us is that our movements become so elite. They remain among the educated, the ones who speak English, or who are on the social media. But it's so important to be, on the grassroots, going to, the people actually on the ground who are living those real lives, and the kind of toxic, battle that they have to do, and they don't even know. So when they get sick, they don't know what's happened to them. And then we have a terrible public health system, which is disastrous. So it's worse because they don't even get the treatment. I'm very less likely that they will ever have an inhaler or something like that. So, it's really, really sad. And so that's the reason that this movement, earlier they were more about advocacy till 2016, 17, 18, 2018 also. It was about advocacy because people didn't know about it, so there was lots being written. We were collaborating with a lot of doctors, and otherwise they'll say, who's Bhavreen and who are they? Nobody will listen to us. So then you need doctors and scientists to kind of, endorse us, and we help them with studies, and a lot of studies were brought to the point that in one of my court cases, the Ministry of Environment, which is the minister, he said that, oh, don't show us these Harvard studies and all. So you don't want a Harvard study, so they want to do Indian studies. So we started working on Indian studies, And recently we had a study where Lung Care Foundation found that every third child in Delhi has damaged lungs. So that means every child, probably both my girls have, and they were playing sports, they were playing basketball. So anybody who was playing in that AQI, is very less likely that you'll escape, any lung infections. So this is how it is. So then, again, like I said, the same thing, like I'm saying just now, the season comes, there's stubble burning, then there is crackers, the air is anyway bad, and throughout the year we don't do anything. We have a statistic saying that in Delhi, a tree is cut every hour, So imagine in a city which has probably that's the relief, the most natural oxygen tower, if you're cutting them, then your priorities are very, very wrong. So we then realized that this is not going to help, advocacy, enough advocacy. Now we need to get a little aggressive. So how do we do it? And now we are mums, so we have very limited, time, resources, and, so we just think, and then we realize that, it's not like India has good laws. We have very good laws, but there's no implementation, mostly laws are not being implemented, whether it was whether you're driving or you're crossing a road or whether you're waste. So we thought that, we realized that even as a mom, when at that point of time, I realized that there's so many things I didn't know. As a citizen, I was okay, I'm a postgraduate and all, but people are doctors and engineers, but they don't know what their laws are. Say if a tree is being cut, what are you supposed to do? Or if you see in your neighborhood a waste is being burnt, what are you supposed to do? So we started empowering the moms, that you work at community level. When you see this, who are you supposed to complain? Because if you don't complain, then there is just no way that you can challenge the governments. your authorities, they will get away very easily. You'll never be able to, if you tell them, okay, I got 1 million complaints this season of waste burning or tree cutting. So it makes a difference when you take them to the legal challenges and all. So that has brought it as warrior moms, because you're now fighting it, and you're not policymakers. We do have no say in that. We are very simple moms living from homes. We are just asking you to abide by the law and implement the law. That's it. So this is what Warrior Moms is about, and it's been it's been a long journey, and very exciting, and also I see that. Once we start measuring it, I'll be happy to share and say that how much we did, because it was just recently, it's not even a year now. But once we have data, then I'll be happy to actually know that how many complaints are being done, or how we've succeeded in that sense,
Thank you, Bavreen. And what's so powerful about the network of these mums is that they're there in their local community.
Absolutely.
So as you say, they can communicate directly with people.
Yeah.
And one of the things you've said over these last few days is that children born in Delhi have the lungs of a smoker.
Yeah.
Babies born with blackened lungs, and it's just too devastating to contemplate that. Really. I had one question, and then I think we're going to go back to Rosamund, and it connects up with Choked Up. So you've got the Warrior Mum Network, and it's growing and it's powerful. What's the youth movement like, and are connections being made, do you know, across different countries on this question of air pollution? And also, if you three want to come in, please do.
Come, Anjali, come. Yeah. They are such stars. The youth is a hope. I have no hope with my generation.
No, don't write us off completely.
I mean, do you guys want to... Yeah, just sit there. I can go there. So, I mean, something that we have been thinking about is potentially going more like international and meeting up and linking up with clean air activists in other countries, which is actually one of the reasons we reached out to you on Twitter. Like I saw your panel at the New York Times Climate Hub, and I was like, oh my God, I have to meet. Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
It
was meant to be.
Yeah, no, and then you're here today. It was like amazing. So we have been thinking about reaching out to other people internationally and trying to create like a global youth movement for this, because it's our lungs that are dying basically, because we're the ones who are growing up in these cities and developing in really highly polluted areas. So trying to make sure that our action is international and coordinated would be incredible and amazing to reach out to lots of other people and spark movements in other countries which are actually more polluted than London. And it would be amazing to see that.
I mean, I feel like us in the UK, we can only really speak for like our own communities. So being able to branch out and having other people branch out to us from areas that they live in, and in that the common denominator in that we're all people of colour and we're all growing up in working class communities, and that we're all disproportionately affected by air pollution means that we're all able to speak our truth, but through other means. And I think being able to come together as one big international movement means that we're able to create a snowball effect. Within that snowball effect comes real radical change, because it's our grassroots organisations that really are the backbone of our society, and only so much good can come from working in our own capacities, but working towards other people's strengths and then working into ours too means that we'll be able to make so much more change in a much rapid scale.
And I mean, we have seen the power of the youth voice in addressing climate crisis and environmental issues, and it would be amazing to see this extend into air pollution and clean air. And so, we would definitely be interested in talking about organising an international movement,
So watch this space. The birth of the international air pollution youth movement might have just happened.
I want to add here that, this has been so, beautiful, the way the mums came up, thanks to Rosamund, who's the star mom, and so strong, and she's so inspirational, really. I mean, there were days when I used to read and I used to cry, and not only me, I mean, so many people in India I know, and we've even written about her in the main, newspapers have covered her in India. Everyone probably in the world does, but those are actually coming, through us. And when we tell them that, it's, any mother could have just given up and just been sitting and mourning for the rest of your life. It's the most difficult thing in the life is to lose your child. And she did that. But then she's fought, and she's fighting for everyone and for our children. And I think that has made us all very strong as moms, and we've all collaborated, and, Maya, Jill, and there's so many moms. And this is one of, I think, the most beautiful, part of the movement, Appreciate everyone. Thank you. Sorry, you didn't speak.
Rosamund, please come up with some final remarks. Thank you so much, Bavreen.
Thank you.
So, how's this been for you? I just have to let everyone know, Maya's been working behind the scenes to get all the mothers together. There's been quite a lot of them, and it's been amazing meeting mothers from all over the world. And I can't even imagine the amount of work that has gone into making this happen. So please give Maya a round of applause as well. I would like to thank the Pipe Factory for hosting us, for Simon for sorting out this space. There have been many emails that have come to and fro between us. And I have to take a moment to mention that next year in Lewisham is going to be the Borough of Culture. And my fine collaborator, Sarah, who's over there, Sarah is about making air pollution visible. So we hope to bring the exhibition upstairs to bring it to Lewisham, and basically just thank everybody. I always say to people, I can't do it on my own. You need the support of everyone. And coming to that march on Friday was really inspirational to see the young people, other mothers, fathers, everyone out there, and you think, right, this is what it's breathed life. This is what it's all about, really. And it's not even an actual warning. I think we know things are going to start changing. So, I mean, the fossil fuel companies, time's up, isn't it? I mean, everyone knows that's my favorite saying, time's up. That, we know what's killing us. We know you've made millions and millions of dollars or pounds, and it's really difficult to let go. And we know the governments talk to us, and then they go and talk to them, and we're not naive. But, there's an awesome neuroscientist back in the UK, and when she talks about people act as if, we need to make money, we need to do this, we need to do that. And she said this brilliant quote to me: you can't go to work if you are dead or if you're ill. And people need to remember that ultimately this is about health. And I must kind of conclude, it's going to be Christmas soon, isn't it? With all those family adverts that kind of drive me insane, because when you lose a child, Christmas is never the same. And next year, Ella would have been 18. And yeah, I don't know what my reaction is going to be after COP when it's all kind of settled down and Christmas is coming. Of course it's going to be hard. And anyone who's lost a child through different ways will absolutely know that. There are good days and there are bad days. I am really blessed just by what's happened. I have 2 other children who keep me going. And I have said to people before that the first few years, I remember just crying constantly. And, my friends in the Friday morning coughing group, part of, Veronique and CoFab 5 that have known me for years and years. So many friends, my family, my extended family, who even during COVID, it was really hard when I haven't seen them. And, you know, my aunt, Auntie Esther, the moment we were even born, she's always supported us. There are always people behind who support you and push you. You know, they sometimes just ring me and say, are you okay? FaceTime. But it's been hard for everybody. And I always say to people, I'm sorry they kind of joined our world. The pandemic has kind of given people a glimpse into what we were going. But this, you know, without Ella, I wouldn't be here. I don't know whether we will be even here right now in the pipe factory. So that's how much she has done. It would take me a long time. Because of the pandemic, I don't think I got the enormity, really, of what had happened. But one day will probably occur to me. And, you know, it's a privilege to be a mum, and especially to be her mum. And what do I miss? I miss every evening saying, love you loads, Baba. Oh, I do. I still miss that. And I tell my other children that, because I think you suddenly realize how short life is. And I say that to my children. I was hassling my son, I don't know whether it was last night or this morning, to dance with me. I'm such a pain in the ass, Mum, I am. They must think, oh, Lord, go away. But I suppose that's the effects of losing a child. You don't take anything for granted. Every moment counts. And I have to go back again to my lawyer through thick and thin. I'm not always on great form. I am sometimes really, really busy. She sticks with me. I had an amazing team, Ravi, Richard, Guy, Megan, all the team during the inquest. People see me, but there are so many, you know, Hod Jones and Alan, Denise, Campaign Collective, Anna, Sarah, Callum, Clean Air Fund. See, so many people who are behind me. Without them, I wouldn't be sitting here. Even to get me here, to organize my schedule, that takes a lot of people, a lot of time and away from. So I am incredibly, incredibly grateful. But I do have to end on back to the government and about the PM 2.5, that I just can't let go of it. Because we're meant to be global Britain, we're meant to lead, and we need to, you know, the Queen really said it. You know, words. It needs to be action. Yes, it is hard, but we've got to start somewhere. And until clean air becomes a human right, children's rights, children deserve to breathe clean air. We're going to keep on fighting, aren't we? Until our last breath. So those are my final words and thoughts.
Thank you, Rosamund. I'm just going to conclude by saying one thing. You have shown what we all know, that there is nothing fiercer than a mother's love. And we are going to keep fighting to keep fossil fuels in the ground.
Maya's crying, everyone. She does this.
We're going to keep fighting to keep fossil fuels in the ground, to clean our air, and for a just transition. And one thing that's beautiful about all of what we're doing is that we're making real friendships. It's not just about the campaign, it's about the personal relationships and the friendships that sustain us. And it's been a pleasure to ask these questions, Rosamund. You just said, don't tell me what questions you're going to ask, and that's what I did. And until the next time.
I'll see you back
in London.
I'll see you back in. Oh, can I just end one thing? Professor Frank Kelly came here, I think on Thursday. He was part of the asthma UK stand, and he's done a lot of research in air pollution. And one of the things I keep on nagging him about is trying to make the invisible visible. But one thing he told me when we were both standing on that stand, he basically said we should not be burning anything. We should keep everything underground. And that's what, and see, that stuck with me. He said we shouldn't be burning anything. So he said, you know, the moment you are burning, you're going in the wrong direction. So the message couldn't be any simpler. Fossil fuels kill. Thank you. Thank you for watching us. Bye.